Chapter 20. Mom. My voice catches on the word. Is this a trick? Some kind of magical illusion? Making me see things that couldn't possibly be here? My mom is dead and, therefore this can't be real. An icy numbness burrows into my heart, steeling me against unwanted emotions. My entire adult life has been defined by the day I lost my mother. Part of me died with her as I shut myself off from feeling the type of love that could lead to that type of loss. More than one therapist tied her death to me, seeking companionship with unavailable or inappropriate men like my music professor. Her death crushed me in a way nothing else ever would or could. But now she's here, and I don't know what to feel. Hi, sunshine, she whispers, tears rolling down her cheeks and coming to rest on her smiling lips. Sunshine. She always called me Sunshine, and I haven't heard that nickname since. I wonder how much that word stuck deep in the recesses of my psyche led me to name my daughter Rain. Like somehow the opposite word would lead to the opposite outcome. I squeeze my baby a little tighter, needing her for emotional support right now far more than she needs me. My mom looks from me to the baby, a grandmother's love radiating off her face. She doesn't move to touch Rain, probably because she knows my guard is still way up. If she was hoping for a joyful mother-daughter reunion, she picked the wrong way to go about it. How? I ask, choosing the only question I can give voice to right now. A deep hurt in my chest is threatening to crash over me, and I have to keep it at bay if I want to get through this. Come join me by the fire, she says, extending a hand to help me up. I'll tell you everything, but I also need to prepare you for what's to come. You're still in danger.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm surrounded by the people who have been trying to steal my baby. Seeing no other choice if I want answers, I stand and follow my gaze, taking in everything I can as I try to figure out where I am and who I'm with. About a dozen figures cloaked in dark robes form a circle around us, pretty much exactly what you'd expect a creepy cult to do. Their faces are cast in shadows from their hoods, and none of them move. They could be statues for how still they are, but I wouldn't bet on it. My guess is they are armed with magic and weapons. Whatever they're packing, they're no doubt ready to intervene if I go off script. I clutch Rain harder to my chest, then ease off when I realize I'm about to wake her. My skin thrums with the power in this place, and I suddenly feel desperately alone. I try to quiet the sound of my heart pounding in my head and reach for that small strand that still connects me to Darius. Will he feel where I am? Will he know I'm in danger? Try as I might, I can no longer sense him tethered to me, and this breaks me almost more than anything else has. That sense of loneliness is now completely consuming. With hesitant steps, I join my mother by the fire. My uneasiness is at war with another deeper part of myself, the child in me who recognizes with longing the way my mother walks as if her feet barely touch the ground, the way she flicks her wrists like a ballerina, so graceful and lithe. She had been a dancer once upon a time, and though she mostly abandoned her studio sessions when I came along, my fondest memories are of us dancing together in the kitchen while baking banana bread. I study the woman before me now, and I see that same grace, that same easy fluidity, and I know that part of my mother couldn't possibly be faked, which makes all of this so much harder. While I'm desperately clinging to my fear to keep me alive, I'm also trying hard not to fall into that safety net she always provided. It's a dichotomy I don't know how to justify within myself, and I'm torn apart by it. Once I'm close enough to the flames to feel their warmth penetrating the cold that has sunk into my bones, I look for a place to sit. My legs feel unstable, whether from exhaustion or from the recent revelations, I'm not sure. As I search for a stump or a log, I hear my mother speak in a slightly affected tone. Langle. I look her way just as she finishes waving a wand like an actual witch's wand, and suddenly two flames leap from the fire, turning a radiant blue as they split from their source, one landing behind each of us. I jump a little, afraid of getting burned since that's what fire does. Meanwhile, my mother sits back into the blue flames beneath her, and the fire expands around her body like a really bizarre beanbag chair. Go ahead, Bernie, she says in her soothing tone. It's safe. Safe is debatable, but I'm curious despite myself. I inch closer to the blaze, noticing that it's warm but not painfully hot. I ease my body down and feel a resistance come up to meet me. It molds around my body like a cushion, and just like that, I'm relaxing in a fire chair. Well, relaxing may be too strong a word, but tensely sitting for sure. I have plenty of questions about the seat she just conjured, and my mom must notice because she starts to explain. Fire is one of the greatest tools for a witch, she says. It's part of the reason we've been able to survive despite. Why are you after my baby? I ask, cutting her off. As much as I want and need to know what she is and where she's been all these years if not dead, my most immediate concern is keeping Rain safe. My mom just shakes her head, a pained look in her eyes and a quiver in her lip. To save you, sweetheart. We've been trying to save you. She seems entirely earnest, but things haven't been as they seem for quite some time. Recent events have primed me to stay skeptical of everyone, and that definitely includes my dead mother. I don't understand. I really don't. I don't know what to ask because I'm too overwhelmed. Too many questions are crowding my thoughts to pick just one. I know, sunshine. There's no way you could. Even after I explain, there will still be parts that don't make sense, but I'll do my best to ease your mind. My mom takes a moment to compose herself, wiping away some tears and dabbing a handkerchief under her nose. In the most extreme, unnatural circumstances, she's still kind of normal, like a regular mom sitting in a chair made of fire after pulling off a supernatural kidnapping. Someone sign us up for our reality TV show stat. You might never trust me, she says. I accept that, and part of me expects. But I won't stop trying to save you, and hopefully you'll come to understand. She pauses again, her voice cracking with emotion. You'll come to understand that everything I've done is because I love you. More than anything. I want to believe her almost as much as she wants to be believed. She sounds so sincere. Her tears, the emotion straining her voice, the look of love she gives me that's so reminiscent of my memories of her. It's almost too perfect. Too much like a movie scene. Either I've become jaded or I'm missing something here. Still, the child in me wants more than anything to trust what she says, because the alternative might just break me. She leans forward, her gaze locked on mine, her words earnest as she continues. I found out I was a witch on my 12th birthday, which is the year most girls' powers manifest. I fought it for a long time, not wanting to believe I was different. You know how it is at that age. You just want to fit in. Then I went through a rebellious phase, discovering all the worst uses for my powers, and what does this have to do with me? I ask sharply, leaning forward with Rain held firmly in my arms. With what's happening now, kidnapping me and my child. I really do want to hear my mother's life story, but there's a time and a place. This is neither. Everything changed when you were born, Bernie, she says quickly. I'm not trying to ramble on about my past, but I think you understand how becoming a mother upends your world, and you're starting to understand how much crazier it is when you know magic exists for better and for worse. Her words give me pause as I realize my estranged mother and I have something very much in common. Well played, Mom. Nanny filled me in on the prophecy after you were born, and I briefly lost my shit on her for waiting until I'd had a child to drop that bombshell. As nice to hear Mom sounding a little like me. But once I cooled down, I knew what I had to do. I went all in. I wanted to master my powers, to harness my capabilities, also I could protect you. And then my breath catches, knowing she's about to talk about the day she died. Or rather didn't die. I still didn't really understand my magic, but I knew that I was part of this prophecy, and so were you, and it was too much to bear. I didn't want you to suffer the way I and your nanny had. So to ease my suffering, you faked your own death? I asked bitterly, on the verge of losing the battle to control my sorrow and anger. She shakes her head. I tried to cast a spell just before you turned 12. I wanted to protect you. I wanted you to be safe forever. What happened? I almost killed you, she says, wiping away more tears wetting her cheeks. I put my baby girl in a coma. Nanny had to pull out some deep dark magic to bring you back. Wait, when I was 11. I don't remember any of this. Even if I didn't remember the coma, wouldn't I have at least remembered all the magic spell stuff leading up to it? Wouldn't I have any memory of missing school? Wouldn't AJ remember something this big? Tilly took care of your memories, she says. What about school? Friends? I ask, shaken to the core that my kind old Nanny messed with my brain. It was summertime, and Nanny handled the rest. The rest being AJ. Jesus, what kind of family do I belong to? My mom continues, seemingly oblivious to my own horror at learning all this. She tried to tell me it was okay, that you would be okay and I should forgive myself, but I couldn't. I couldn't look at you after what I'd done. So she forms a fist with her hand like she's trying to hold in all the pain as she speaks. I decided you would be safer without me. I chose to end my life. I exhale, letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Except you didn't, I point out. I tried, my mom says, sounding even more remorseful than before. I threw myself off a cliff into the ocean. I shiver as the memories I keep carefully suppressed come rushing back. Finding her suicide note, searching the shoreline for her body, friends with fishing boats patrolling the coastline day and night. Her body was never found. She was presumed dead. After all, how could anyone live through that fall? How did you survive? I ask. And where have you been all these years? She sighs and looks away, her gaze lost in the darkness of the surrounding trees. I woke up here in this very forest, staring into my mother's face. That's actually something I can imagine quite readily, though her circumstances were a bit different. So what, this is like some weird recreation reunion for you?
No.
But I wanted you to understand why I did what I did. Why Nanny did what she did. My heart skips a beat. What did Nanny do? My mother stands and approaches me, then kneels down and takes one of my hands into hers. She stole your magic to bring me back from the dead. My throat goes dry and a cold sweat covers my skin as I yank my hand from hers. What do you mean, stole my magic? I didn't want her to. I never meant for any of this to happen. I didn't consider what it would do to a mother to lose her child. She snapped even before she absorbed too much power. The grief turned her into someone else. My mother rocks back on her heels, her eyes, the same deep blue as my own, locked on mine. She used dark magic, blood magic, to pull your power from you, and then harnessed it to find my body and bring me back. When I woke up in this forest, I was yanked from the afterlife. The use of that much power made her crazy. That's why she lost her mind? Why she's in the hospital now? My mother nods. It is magic. Power. It isn't natural. It's always been a curse causing more problems than it solves. And those monsters who are living with you, they are born of the oldest magic and they are using you and your daughter to empower their own races. I already know what they want, I say impatiently. I know why they came. But it's more complicated than that. I think back to all the shared moments, the private conversations, the memories I've already made with each of them. Complicated definitely describes my current relationship status. My mother smiles sadly, then stands and waves her wand over the fire. The golden red flames turn blue like our magic chairs and begin to dance against the night sky, forming shapes that tell a story. They told you what they wanted you to know. They used their powers of mental manipulation and seduction on you. As I watch, I see scenes played out from my life with Darius, Rune and Zev. Private moments none other were privy to. Did they tell you what they will do with the child once they have her? She asks, the form of a baby appearing in the flames. They need her to save their people. I say softly, feeling sick to my stomach. That much is true, my mom says. But there's much more to it than that. With another flick of her wand, the flames change shapes once more. Each race believes they understand the prophecy of the last witch. And each believes they know what must be done to save the magic flowing in their veins, giving life to their race. A wolf appears in the flames, several wolves in fact surrounding the baby, laying on the ground. The wolves then descend upon the child, ripping it apart. I turn my head from the gruesome scene, but cannot erase it from my mind. The wolves would eat her, consuming her flesh and bones in order to take in her magic and save themselves. I glance back at the flames as they shift again, this time to the Fae who lay the baby in a hole dug in the ground. The Fae would put her to earth, burying her alive so that her blood, bones, and final breath can become part of the nature they worship, so that she will become one with the great tree and give them their lives and magic back. I clutch Rain tighter to my chest. Stop this, I whisper, anger and fear and disgust boiling in me. You must see the truth, my daughter. You must know, otherwise I cannot save you. The flames dance again, this time bringing forth the vampires. The baby in the fire is strapped to an altar, her blood drained as the vampires feed on her. My mother doesn't need to explain this one. It's all too clear. She circles her wand a final time and the flames die down, turning back to their normal color. You see? They've been using you. They don't care about you or the child, only their own immortal selves. They were never meant to exist. Not in the world of humans. Not anywhere. They are aberrations and they must never get their hands on the last witch. We must keep Rain safe for her sake and for the sake of all of humanity. So you've been trying to kidnap her to keep her safe? I ask. My mom smiles, relief in her eyes. Yes. Exactly. And what about Joe? Why did you kill him? She flinches. That was out of my control. Joe found out about Alex and he. She drifts off, but I press on, needing info faster than she seems prepared to give it. And Nanny? Why send order members to her room? To keep her safe, she says. The order has been watching over Nanny since. Her mind went, trying to keep other creatures away from the powers stored in that frail body. Like that vampire who nearly killed her before Alex arrived. Except that's not what happened. Nanny had been relieved to see him. Happy. Or was that just what Darius wanted me to see? I rub my temples, a massive headache forming. I don't know what's real and what's not. Who to trust and who to fight. Then why not come to me yourself earlier? Why all the theatrics? You put me and Rain at risk. My mother sinks back into her fire chair, looking slightly defeated. I wanted to. Sunshine, I've wanted to come see you every day since I disappeared. Being so close and yet so far has made life almost unbearable. But how could I explain myself? How could I tell you anything and still keep you safe? I wish I got to you before those monsters did, and now I'm trying to fix this, I swear it. I close my eyes, squeezing through tears as I try to find the truth in my heart when a voice invades my mind. Bernie, do not trust her. It's not what it seems. I'm coming to save you. Both. My breath hitches. Darius. Chapter 21. Don't move. Darius' final command makes me hold my breath and my eyes go wide. The reaction is not lost on my mother. What is it, Bernie? She leans in, inspecting me, clearly on high alert. Don't know if she senses something, or if she's just constantly on edge. Because she lives in a secret society in the woods. I'm afraid, Mom. I decide not to mention the voice in my head because I still don't know who to trust. The only thing I can think to do is keep this conversation going and hope the truth appears in big flashing neon lights. I'm afraid of everyone, including you. Probably not what a mom wants to hear from her daughter, but she takes it in stride. Of course you are. I lied to you and broke your trust, and I don't expect to fix that just by showing my face. I only hope you take it better than Joe did when he saw Betty. And the hits just keep on coming. Betty? His wife who died from cancer, whose funeral I went to. Has anyone ever actually died? And stayed dead? Mom nods. She's here. She's a witch. As shocking as that is, I'm more heartbroken for Joe. And Joe found out? About her and about Alex, my mom says. Betty worked for years on a spell. That would bring her son's mind back. And it was finally a success. But the deception and the loss and the knowledge that his wife was a witch, it was too much for Joe. Of course it was. Sweet old man stopped caring about anything except beer. These last 2 years, and to then find out he didn't have to go through that agony, that his wife chose to leave him, no matter what her reasoning, that's a pill not a lot of people could swallow without choking. Why? I ask. Why'd she have to leave or pretend to die? My mother looks into the distance, searching for the words that might make me understand. Open-minded as I'm trying to be, I doubt she'll find them. It's too much to explain in one conversation, Sunshine. That might sound like a cop-out, but there's a long history of witches that makes everything. Yeah, I know the history, I interrupt. Well, she says, doubt heavy in her voice, you know the history is told by the races that have been killing us for generations. It's a fair point, though it's not like Darius, Zev and Rune minced words. None of them painted the treatment of witches in a flattering light. God, how is it that it feels like everyone on both sides of this argument is telling the truth and lying to me at the same time? I want to ask more questions about Betty, Alex, Mom, shit I haven't even thought to ask about the father I never met, who was almost undoubtedly a minotaur talking fish. However, all questions will have to wait as a deep red glow ignites in the sky above us, accompanied by a low bone-rattling hum. Every member of the order is on guard, and my mom is out of her chair the moment it happens. Where's the breach? She yells to no one in particular. Are they inside the field? A younger woman who I don't recognize runs over, her fiery red hair flying. Behind us her hood falls to her back. She speaks with some sort of accent I can't place except to say the girl ain't from Mass. Someone crossed the river basin, she explains, her words rushed in breath. Short. Non-human. 3. My hopes rise as I realize all 3 sexies are coming for me, but they fall. Just as quickly. Are they coming for me and my baby? Or just my baby? Arm yourselves and take your posts. My mother yells, transitioning from chill witch mom to intimidating general in an instant. There's a vampire in the woods, so don't show any hesitation. She turns on me, suspicion clouding her eyes. Bernie, what's your relationship with these men? What? You know more about them than I do, you've been. No, she cuts me off, searching for specifics. I know they've stolen your trust, but have they taken your heart? Have you slept with them? This feels way too much like I'm a teenager coming home from the drive-in movies and I don't really know what to make of it. No, I answer defensively but truthfully. Any acts of passion? Any connection that's more than skin deep? Her insistence seems strange, but the pointed questioning does make me think more clearly. There was a car crash with Dar with the vampire and to keep me conscious, to help me recover. I don't finish the sentence because it's clear my mom has already heard enough. Oh, sunshine, she says with a mix of pity and scorn. He gave you his blood, and now he owns you. Before I can respond, she sprints off into the night, leaving me and Rain alone by the fire. The Order is preparing for battle with the Sexies. The Sexies have come for me, and Rain and will probably kill any member of the Order that gets in their way, including my mother. I'm caught in the middle and don't know which way to turn. A howl in the distance lets me know that Zev is near. It'll be an interesting twist if he can convince the wolves of New England to join the fight. I stay by the fire, as it's my only source of light in these unfamiliar surroundings. I know both sides of this skirmish say they want to keep me safe, but I still feel the need to duck and take cover. That need only gets stronger when the sky lights up again in a bright crimson, and a shrill siren wakes Rain. I cover her ears, trying to protect her. She probably wants to feed, but the poor thing will have to wait a bit longer. There on the last ridge, a man calls from the darkness. Ready yourselves, my mother responds. Stun, confuse, or kill, whatever you need to do to stay alive and protect the child. Moments later, clusters of light burst out of the trees and into the clearing. I can't tell where the Order's assault is targeted, but I know it's unending. I fear for the men who have come to save me, though I still wonder how much it's them I should be fearing. Suddenly, I see the shadow of a tree uproot, and the sound of branches cracking echoes through the woods. To the east, a voice screams, "Target the Fae." More fire and lightning bolts erupt from the witches stationed in the trees, now all directed nearer to where Rain and I sit. If this fight moves any closer to us, we're liable to get barbecued by an errant blast of fire. Another tree tears from the ground, and I hear the sound of a man screaming as he falls from his perch in the branches, then a sickening thud as his body hits the snow. Seconds later, a beam of white light scorches the ground beneath the tree, and I hear Rune cry out in agony. I'm compelled to move towards him to see if I can help, to offer some sort of protection, but I know that's a fool's errand. I have my baby. I can't walk blindly into a firefight. Instead, I take the only action I can think of. Stop! I scream at the top of my lungs, clutching Rain to my chest, trying to top the sound of the magical powers clashing around me. I don't expect my cry to be heard, but it's all I've got. A few more shots are fired, but then the chaos seems to settle. A trace of quiet enters the night. Either everyone died or my plea worked. Neither seems likely, so I keep Rain hugged against me, waiting for another outburst. Instead of fire, the next thing I see flying through the air is my pet wolf. Zev lands at my feet, then quickly begins circling me, staring and sniffing in every direction. Around us, I hear the sound of bodies scurrying down trees, swinging from branch to branch as they head towards the ground. Footsteps come from every direction as the Order surrounds us. Zev looks more like a frightened animal than I've ever seen him, moving around me in a low crouch, a constant growl humming in his throat. The Order members begin closing in on us, but there's still no sign of Rune or Darius. I don't understand what could have happened to them. They're both too strong, too powerful, too cunning. What are we up against? And of course I'm once again torn by the lingering question in my mind. Which of them is truly my enemy? Darius, are you here? I think, hoping for an answer but afraid of what he'll say. Silence is the only answer I get. Get away from the baby wolf, my mother orders. Zev makes no move to obey. You're outnumbered and up against a magic your teeth can't cut through, she says savagely. Move away and die quickly, or stay put and I'll make the pain linger much longer. Zev only growls and continues his guard of me and Rain. I don't like where this is headed, and I'm terrified of how it might end. Mom, I say, fighting past the lump in my throat so I can speak clearly. Please don't. I'm sorry, this isn't your conversation. Her response is quick and firm, putting me in my place like I'm a child and, in the process, pissing me the hell off. Of course it's my conversation. Sunshine. Don't sunshine me, Lauren. Her name escapes my lips before I even know what I'm saying. I'm late to the party, but I'm also the one holding the last witch, I say, glancing down at my baby. If I'm going to bear this cross, I get a seat at the table. My mom Lauren takes a few steps closer, seeming to accept that she won't win this argument with her I'm in charge attitude. Sweetheart, you're at the table. I won't keep anything from you. She pauses, looking from my face down to the wolf. As soon as you're safe. No sooner have the words left her lips than her wand is in the air, pointed at Zev, a golden light bursting from it. He's quick enough to move his head out of the way, but the blast catches him in the shoulder, sending him flailing away into the snow. The yelp he lets out as he crashes and falls still breaks my heart. No, I shout, whirling back to face my mother. Baby, she starts, ready to dish out another lie or tell me the truth. I get the feeling I may not know who I should actually trust until it's too late. She takes another step toward me, but before her foot can settle, a blur of darkness streaks through my vision, toppling my mother and sending other members of the order scrambling. Before my eyes can follow the movement, the shadow appears behind a hooded member and knocks them unconscious with a blow to the head before they can even turn around. The vampire has arrived. Fire starts to fly again and I duck down, hunching over my shrieking baby to keep her out of harm's way. I look behind me to see if I can spot Zev. I can only make out what might be the outline of a rock, or perhaps a motionless wolf. Suddenly I feel a body at my side. We need to flee, Bernie. Order members are scattered about, some heading our way but ceasing the onslaught for fear of hitting Rain. This is as good a time as any to escape, but not without Zev and Rune. Bernie, they may not survive. It's a three-way pledge, Darius, I say firmly. We're not leaving if they're still alive. Darius stands his ground, his face conflicted. He's trying to respect my wishes, but it's clear his chief concern is keeping me alive. I can't imagine a world in which this man would hurt me, no matter what consequences he may face. If I had to choose between my mom and the vampire this instant, Bernie, you need to trust me. My mother's voice comes from the ground near the fire. She's slowly getting to her feet, obviously hurt from the blow she took. No matter how charmed you are or protected you feel, each of these men is trying to save his own race. The stakes are too high to be blinded by their powers or your feelings. Don't you think they would snap your neck in an instant if it meant saving everything and everyone they care about? Do you really think you and your child matter to them more than their entire realm? More than their own lives? She limps toward me, looking hurt and afraid and speaking words that ring true. It would be foolish to think about how each man has treated me without remembering why they came in the first place. Matilda's daughter, I presume, Darius says calmly. Don't say her name like you know her, my mom says. Interesting. It looks like I know something my mother doesn't. What to do with this information, I'm not sure. You don't know of what you speak, woman, the vampire spits back, sounding much more like the Darius I was first introduced to. None of you know the first thing about this child, its powers or the prophecy. While Darius gives my mother a verbal lashing, the other members of the order fall in behind her. It's me, my baby, and a vampire against a much larger, seemingly more powerful group. My baby might have magic one day, but that day is not today, and I already know I don't have any thanks to Nanny. So really, it's Darius against the order, which doesn't seem like great odds even for a super powerful vampire. I look back toward the clearing, vaguely making out the movements of a body slumped against a tree. I know in my heart it's Rune. He's alive at least, though it's hard to say for how long. Is that why you've killed so many of us, you monster? My mom fires back. Just racing to get to the last one so you could feast on the innocent for eternity. I throw another glance back towards Zev, and see that he's starting to rise. May not know who to trust, but I know I'm not ready to see any of these.
Stretch, beautiful Mandy.
When I turn back, I see my mom slowly raising her wand. Mother, I say in my most admonishing voice, do not. I expect her to ignore me, but instead she looks at the ground and starts to cry. Oh, sunshine, she whispers between sobs. Why won't you let me save you? Her words strike a chord, and I see how painful this is for her. She knows she hasn't earned my trust, and yet I think she truly believes that I'll die without her help. But then her expression shifts, a new malice in her eyes, and a harsher tone in her voice. Don't you see what this magic becomes? She wails, gesturing to the fire and devastation all around us. There's no end to this, sunshine. Everyone will always want to achieve the greatest power, to live forever, to rule over the others. There's only one way to end this. She lowers her wand and reaches out to me with her other hand. Give me the baby, Bernadette. She is the sacrifice that will save us all. Her death will end the wars forever. A collective gasp comes from the order members behind my mother. Figure steps forward and removes her hood. It's Joe's wife, Betty. She hovers over my mother's shoulder and speaks while keeping her eyes on me and the vampire. What are you talking about? Betty asks. The objective was always to save the child, Lauren. No, my mom says firmly. It was always to save our families, our husbands and brothers, our sisters and mothers, our daughters. She turns her attention back to me. I'm asking you to do something.
Impossible, sunshine.
No mother could ever willingly harm her child. Except you, I think to myself, by trying to take my baby from me. But this goes beyond your pain or mine or my mother's. You have a chance to end so much suffering. If we don't do the right thing, these cursed magic creatures will haunt the world for another million years. This whole time my mom has been trying to convince me of the evil forces conspiring against me. I know she believes what she says, but she's lost sight of who the real monster is. I look down at Rain, cold, hungry and crying. I need to get her away from here, away from the witches who are supposed to be her family. I turn to Darius, whose eyes have been locked on my mother this whole time. Every muscle in his body ready to spring into action and save the baby he pledged to protect. That's it. The pledge. He takes his eyes off my mother to look at me, a hesitant expression on his face. I know he heard my thoughts. Bernie. Darius. I say, not giving him a chance to stop me. Take the child. What are you doing? My mother yells, her wand hand raised again. I'm taking your advice, mother. I say with every ounce of sass I can muster. I'm doing the right thing. I hold Rain out toward the vampire. He's the only one who can keep her safe right now, and that's all I care about. Take the child. He looks at the baby so tenderly, a sort of compassion on his face I never thought could have existed. And then he raises his gaze to me.
No.
I don't understand. Neither does my mother or any member of the order, who all seem dumbstruck at the scene unfolding before them. Darius, I've broken the pledge, I say. All I want is for her to be safe, away from all this, and you're the only one I trust to make that happen. Please, Darius, take my baby. He pushes Rain back into the nook of my arm, then reaches up and touches my cheek. She's safest with you. Your love for her is as strong as any magic and has already kept her alive against all odds. I refuse to take her from her mother, no matter what. When I open my mouth to object, he inches closer, wrapping an arm around me, while keeping his other hand on Rain. I can't allow any harm to come to the child, he says softly, his dark eyes penetrating all the defenses I had built up around my heart. But I can't allow any harm to come to you either. I followed the star that night expecting to find a savior for my people. Instead, I found a savior for my own soul, and I will not let her go now. For the briefest moment, all the fear drifts out of me as I lose myself in Darius' eyes, feeling secure in the midst of this madness. All right, I say, knowing I can't change his mind and realizing how much I need him by my side. I linger on his eyes for a second longer, finding strength in them that I know I'll need for the fight ahead. And then, before I can turn away, Darius and I are hit with a blast of magic. That sends me flying back several feet and crashing into the snow. My grip on Rain tightens as I hold her close to my chest and pray she isn't hurt. The wind is knocked out of me and my head spins from the impact. I look around frantically for Darius and scream when I see him. He is on fire. Blue flames licking at his flesh, burning him from the inside out. I try to crawl to him, but every part of my body flares with pain and I fall back when I realize my right leg is broken. Darius crashes to the ground, flailing wildly as flames engulf his entire body. His cries are excruciating and echo through the forest as the trees themselves seem to absorb his pain. What have you done? I scream as my mother stands over him, wand pointed down, smoke still curling from the tip. Then she turns, her face a mask void of any emotion, as she locks her gaze with mine and takes a step toward Rain. And Chapter 22. You stupid girl. My mother's voice is cold, harsh, absent any warmth at once. Held. She moves toward me slowly, wand still raised. I push my heels into the earth below, trying to put as much distance as possible between us and this murderous lunatic who is my mother. My heart is hammering in my chest, cold sweat slicking my skin, tears burning my eyes as I glance over to Darius, his body now still and smoldering in the snow. After all the horrors you've been through in the last few days, my mother says, taking another step forward. After watching your grandmother lose her mind and live the rest of her life in agony, destroying her husband's life in the process. After growing up without a mother, you still can't see where all the trouble stems from. I stop scooting along the ground, knowing I won't get away. Hopefully I'll have better luck hurling words. You're blaming all those things on my child? Every problem for the last 50 generations can be pinned on this tiny, defenseless girl. It's what she represents, Bernie, my mother says, a little exasperated with my defiance. Not sure what else she expected. You won't understand now, you'll probably hate me until I'm dead and gone. But this is the only choice. My mom softens her voice, toning it down so she sounds more like the woman who almost won me over just moments ago. Please, sunshine, hand her over. Don't make me hurt you as well. It's a sweet attempt at saying the most hateful thing ever, and I'm not buying. Oh, Mom. I'm overrun with emotions, but my voice is calm and clear. All these years wishing I had one more minute with you, could see you one last time. And now I just wish you really were dead. Her face twists with anger. Then she stands tall, composes herself, and aims her wand at me. Me too, sunshine. Soon it. There's a flash and then I feel nothing. No pain, but also no cold, no touch. I know Rain is pressed against me, but I can't even feel her. My thoughts still tumble around in my mind, my eyes still see, but it's like my head has no body. Every effort to move a leg or an arm fails. As my mother reaches down and extracts my baby from my arms, all I can do is watch through blurry, tear-filled eyes. Please don't. I mouth, my lips barely moving while the sound stays trapped in my throat. She lifts Rain and tucks her under her chin, gently cooing as she walks away from me toward the fire. What a sweet girl you are. What a sweet, beautiful girl. What a goddamn psychopath. I fight to move again, but it's all for naught. Whatever connection there used to be between my brain and body has gone offline. I've still got control over my eyes, and I look as far as I can in every direction. I can barely make out Zev in my periphery, and I've got no clue if he's breathing or not. Rune's too far away, hidden amongst the trees at least. That's where I hope he is. Darius is much easier to spot. Not 20 feet away, I see smoke rising off his motionless body. Fear hits me in the gut at the sight. I know vampires are hard to kill, but a witch's fireball seems like it would be deadly to just about anyone. I shift my eyes back towards my mother, helpless to do anything but watch as she waves her wand and summons a platform of blue fire under her feet. Lifts her into the air, hovering above the open flame, along with my baby. Gather round, she announces to her followers. The forest has fallen silent, save for the sound of footsteps shuffling across the snow-covered earth. Then doesn't even cry. She seems to be in some kind of trance. The eerie quiet is much worse than the cacophony of battle from earlier. Paralyzed from the neck down, my baby dangling above a sprawling fire, and all I hear is pounding, merciless silence. I know you've fought to save the last witch, my mother says as the order members circle around the fire. But as you've seen here tonight, it's an impossible task. It took everything we had, every spell we could muster to Fend off just 3 attackers and more will come. She gestures to the woods. As if enemies lurk there even now. The vampires, the werewolves and the fae will have armies at their backs. Kingdoms to come against us if we do not end this now. Who amongst us wants to die at the hands, teeth or claws of these abominations? There are murmurs from the circle, voices offering both agreement and protest. Remember that this was never about a single child, my wretched mother continues. This was about all of our futures and the future of humanity. This is about righting centuries of wrongs that our ancestors had to endure at the mercy of those monsters. She's talking about my princes, men who risk so much for me and for Rain. How could this be my reality? The 3 sent to steal my child, once the most frightening of foes, now lay around me dying because they chose to defend me. And my baby from the mother I thought to be long dead. So many twists of fate. And all so cruel. I hear muffled whines coming from Rain, still under my mom's control. I choke on my sobs, wishing more than anything that it was my body hanging above that fire. If only Tilly had sacrificed me after I was born, shattering my mother, and putting an end to these magical tragedies. So many lives could have been saved, and I'd have never experienced the greatest loss of all. But Nanny would have never done that. She broke herself trying to bring her daughter back. I feel that connection to her now, stronger than ever before. Recognize the love she felt, and the sacrifices she made because her heart told her to. God, I wish Nanny was here, to comfort me and to talk some sense into her craven daughter. My chest burns and I feel like it's the actual sensation of my heart giving out. Rain is about to die and I have nothing left to live for, so why should my heart keep beating? The order should vote, a woman yells, interrupting my mother's tirade. It's how we've always addressed issues in the past. We've thwarted the attack and we're safely convened at the coven fire. Let us vote, Lauren. There isn't time for a vote, my mother shouts back. You think the attack is over? That we're safe? Each and every one of us will die if we don't act swiftly. The threat of death seems to quiet her dissenters, yielding control back to my mother. We stand before the first fire, ignited by the fates, the sacred flames that have burned even as our numbers dwindled. We now have the chance to restore the order they once sought to create, by letting the flames consume the last, which bringing an end to the powers that have long been a source of death and destruction among ours and all races. This child's sacrifice will quench these eternal flames, allowing the great magic to consume itself, and thus end these powers forever. As she lifts my baby into the air, the burning in my soul becomes almost unbearable. I want to move so badly to break free of this pain, but my body won't allow it. I want to scream, to rage against what is happening, and then, just as I think I'm about to succumb to the heat building in my chest, a soft amber glow shines in the sky. Perhaps my heart did burst, and this is my journey to the other side. Or maybe Rain has been fed to the fire, and the world is twinkling with the magical brightness that existed in that beautiful, perfect baby. Bernie, my dear. I hear the voice in the same way I hear Darius when he speaks to my mind, but it is not the vampire who speaks to me now. It's Tilly. Nanny? A shimmering form appears before me, clarifying within the amber glow, a silver wisp that takes on the form of my grandmother. She steps forward, her translucent arms outstretched, her body an effervescent figure pulled straight from a dream, hovering just about the snow. The glow from her being washes the whole forest in a warm golden light. My eyes snap from her back to the fire, to the scene I'd looked away from, because I thought it might kill me to watch. My mother is frozen, holding Rain above the fire. Everyone is frozen. Everyone but Nanny and me. What did you do? I asked the figure before me. I have slowed time, but only for a moment. I've come to give you back what I took from you so long ago. Nanny approaches me, kneeling to touch my cheek with her ghostly finger. Warmth infuses my skin, and I feel tears slide down my cheeks. A sensation in my body slowly returns. I have to go now, Nanny says, stroking my cheek like she did when I was scared as a child. Where? I ask, still feeling stuck in something between a dream and a nightmare. No one knows. She smiles gently. That is the great adventure, to discover what life looks like on the other side of the door we call death. Thank you for bringing me, for releasing me. What's she talking about? What did I do? Nanny, what do you mean? You called out to me, your voice a source of pure love. When I heard you, I Knew it was okay to let go, she says, her tone so calm and sweet as she delivers this crushing news.
No.
I feel my heart crack open, emotions too big to bottle up spilling out of it even as my body refuses to feel it all. I need you. Rain needs you. Don't leave us. Oh child, I'm not leaving you. I'm leaving an old body in a hospital bed. I'll always be in here. She removes her hand from my cheek and places it over my heart, and I watch in awe as a blinding light flashes in her soul and pushes through her hand and into me, filling the cracks that have formed at my core. As I fill with that light, that magic, my body comes to life again, pulsing with every sensation. My broken leg mends itself in my very skin, begins to glow with the kind of power I have never felt or even imagined in my life. Nanny's eyes are full of light even as the rest of her begins to fade. Committed a great act of evil that was inspired by the greatest love when I stole your magic to bring your mother back. It is not for witches to interfere with the destinies of others. My beautiful granddaughter, I am giving you back your destiny. I will be here watching over you, watching over Rain. My body burns, but this time it is a welcome fire that sparks my soul to life. A part of me I didn't even know was dead until now. But at what cost? My nanny has almost entirely disappeared. The outlines of her body are fading like smoke dissipating on the wind. Only her face remains clear, her eyes still full of so much love. But girl, know this, she says, her voice becoming faint even in my mind. Was always you. And then she is gone. I feel at the moment her soul departs this world as all the power she released slams into me. I scream. The sound of my voice rings through the forest, waking up all the creatures who live here, driving magic into each leaf, each blade of grass, each stray rock. Time, which was at a standstill, now snaps into motion, my mother moving to sacrifice my child over the fire. The whole interlude with Nanny happened in the blink of an eye, so my mom never saw Tilly. She doesn't see what has changed in me. With instinct born of desperation and fear, I push it all out of me, every drop of magic I feel swelling within. I can't tell if I'm raining power in from the natural world or if it's all emanating from my own being. I'm acting without thinking, and the result is a tsunami of electricity. Light crashes over the order, my mother, everyone near me. While the world bends and shakes around me, I set my intention to one thing only: save Rain. I must save Rain. My eyes stay focused squarely on my baby as wave after wave of brilliant light crashes through the others. They scatter and fall to the ground, stunned or unconscious. If a fallen witch tries to stand back up, she's immediately struck down again. Meanwhile, Rain floats gently on a soft, glowing cloud, safely above the fire. My gaze never leaves her as I walk to the fire's edge. She's hovering just above the flames, the same ones that were meant to consume her life, and yet I feel no fear. She'll wait for me. She is safe. I pull her from the floating stasis and move away from the blaze, squeezing her in my arms. Oh sweetheart, are you okay? I check her little body for any injury, the light from my fingertips soaking into her soft skin. Tooth, grasping at the glowing streaks my magic leaves. I stand amidst the chaos my power has created, but my feet do not sink into the snow. Instead, I find myself floating above the earth, moving toward my mother, who was blasted to the ground and now struggles to right herself. She stares at me slack-jawed, while the other order members lay motionless. My mother is still alert. Whether that's because she's the stronger witch or my subconscious intention was to leave her standing, I cannot say. Where did you get such power? She asks, fear in her eyes for the first time tonight. It is mine by blood, I say. And you are done here. My mother's lips curl like a rabid dog and she reaches for her wand and pulls at the blue fire still burning between us. I didn't want it to be this way, she says. I wanted to spare you, but you've made that impossible. With a flick of her wrist, she casts the fire at Rain and me, intent on completing what she started, even if it means I die with my daughter. Without thought, without knowing what I'm doing, I call my magic to me on instinct. My intent is enough. A golden shield forms around my child and myself, and when the blue fire comes for us, it is repelled backward by the vibrant light. My mother's eyes widen. Before she can manage a scream, the fire wraps around her body, her own flames consuming her. As relieved as I am to be alive, I can't help but feel the pain of losing her all over again. I hold Rain so she can't see her grandmother die, but I watch. I bear witness. to the consequences of messing with dark magic, of bringing back the dead, and trying to kill the innocent. When her screams die to nothing, the fire flashes. I blink, and when I open my eyes again, my mother is gone. Nothing remains of her body but a dim blue light fading out into the night. Around the eternal witch's fire lay the remains of the order, all unconscious, but alive. But they are not my concern. I look around, seeking out the 3 men who have turned my life and my heart upside down in such a short time. I find Zev first, in wolf form. Laying a hand on him, I press my magic into his fur and close my eyes, willing him to heal, to live. His body twitches, then jerks, and he shifts to human under my hand, his green eyes opening. I exhale in relief as he pulls me into a hug, careful not to crush the baby between us. My tears fall on his shoulder, and he pulls away to wipe them. I guess it's not so bad, he says with a smirk. What's not so bad? I ask. Being mated to a witch. It could be worse. If his words are a shock, the kiss that comes next nearly undoes me. My body is already raw, exposed from the inside out, so when he takes my lips with his, cupping the back of my head with one hand as the other wraps around my waist, I feel everything. Every sensation, every emotion, every shift in his body against mine. I feel him under my skin, in my heart, in some primal part of me I've been denying my whole life, and if I were a wolf I would howl right now. But alas, I am human. Or rather, I am witch. And so I kiss him back, deeply, passionately, with nips at his bottom lip as my fingers dig into his back. I pull away, painful as it is to do so, but I can't go on knowing there are 2 of our pack still missing. We will talk more later, I say, about this mate business. His eyes are filled with need, but he nods, nuzzling my neck once more before pulling away. I'll go to Rune. I can hear him in the clearing. He is alive. You find Darius. He will need your blood. I hand him Rain. Take her, I say. If I have to feed Darius my blood, it's best if she's somewhere else. He nods, accepting the child, his face softening as it always does when he looks at her. Before I can leave, Zev cups my face with his palm. It was always you, he says softly. The very same words Tilly spoke to me before she died. I kiss him once more, then turn to find Darius. Around me the night fills with the scents and sounds of the forest. With a heightened sense I experience every shift of the trees groaning deep in their roots, every tiny movement of each animal and insect, every shimmering moonbeam lighting my way. It's heady, intoxicating, and dizzying. I have to stop and lean over to catch my bearings again. The world around me is too bright, too noisy, too filled with wonder. I feel as if my head will explode. But Darius, I need to find him. He could be almost dead, meaning I have no seconds to spare. I push through the discombobulation, but I can't remain upright. Instead I crawl through the snow, my ability to hover now gone as I struggle to settle my mind and stabilize this new power surge I'm having. If not for Darius, blood flowing in my veins, increasing our connection, sending me a guiding ribbon of light to follow, I'm not sure I would have been able to find him. Through the snow now falling once more. It's as if nature is trying to reclaim the forest we have defiled with fighting and death. I choke back emotion as my mind wanders to Tilly and my mom, to everything that has happened here. I blink against tears, and against the memory of Darius bursting into flames. Feeling through the snow with hands that are becoming numb from cold, I hit on what I know is the vampire's body. Relief surges through me as I sense the smallest speck of life still present in him. I pull myself up to where he lays, my head swimming as I study his too perfect face, which is now covered in charred burn marks. Rage swells up again at my mother and the suffering she caused, but I push it back. I can't afford anger right now. I need healing, love, peace. I need to bring this man back to me. I search his cloak for the knife I know he keeps there, and hold it to my wrist. Praying it's sharp enough but not too sharp, I swipe at my vein, releasing a crimson ribbon across my arm that glows with the same golden light as my skin. I squeeze my eyes against the pain that follows the swell of blood. Then I hold it over my vampire's mouth. I hope the magic in my bloodstream will be an extra healing elixir for Darius. It takes a moment, but as my blood drips into his mouth, his body comes back to life, the burn marks on his face healing first to pink puckered scars and then to smooth, clear skin. When his eyes open, revealing the dark orbs that always pull me in, my heart skips a beat in relief. When he pulls me into him, replacing my wrist with my neck as he continues to feed, my heart skips a beat in desperate desire. The pain of his teeth sinking into my flesh is turned to pleasure as his lips caress my neck, as his hands grip my body laying on top of his, as his strength returns to all parts of him. And when he continues to feed, to consume my blood, and my reality dips and spins and closes into darkness, my heart skips several beats. And then is silent. Chapter 23. Bernie. A voice calls my name, but he sounds so far away, like a dream, through mist and clouds. I think she's coming too, another voice says. It isn't until I hear a heart-rending cry that I find my way out of the fog I feel I've been lost in for ages. When I open my eyes, 3 beautiful faces stare down at me, silver eyes that glow with an inner light, forest green eyes that take me into the wilds of the woods, and eyes so black I am lost in their eternal darkness. Welcome back, Rune says, his voice filled with worry. You've given us quite a scare. Rune used every potion and herb on you, Zev says. I've never seen his magic so useless. Rune glares at the werewolf, who just shrugs. Even my blood did nothing to revive you, Darius says, his voice choking on more emotion than I've ever heard from him. I nearly killed you. You should never have offered yourself that way to me. I had no control. Zev, much to my surprise, puts a comforting hand on the distraught vampire. But you did stop. You stopped in time, because you love her and would never hurt her. It's the first time I've truly seen a glimpse of who they might have been had they not turned on one another so many eons ago, and it makes me hopeful for what might yet be. But also love? That's a big word. One I'll have to unpack later. I try to lift myself to get a sense of where I am, of what happened, but the room is spinning. Strong hands support my back. Easy there. You've been out a long while.
Zen.
I whisper, my throat dry as sandpaper. Someone hands me a glass of water. Drink, Zev says.
Ido.
And someone else hands me a bundle that squirms in my arms.
Jen.
Tears fall as I hold her close to me. As my vision clears, I realize I'm in my bedroom. The sexies are all here. I've got my baby. And AJ is sitting in the chair in the corner, her head lolled to the side in sleep. Is she okay?
Rune nods.
She hasn't left your side. We didn't want to wake her. What happened? I ask, instinctively pulling out a breast to feed my daughter. Before they can answer, I notice my skin and pull Rain away, handing her to whichever prince is closest. What's wrong with me? It takes me a moment for memories to return. The power I inherited from my grandmother. The surge of energy I felt when my mother died. The glowing skin and glowing blood. I stand, pushing away the hands that try to stop me, and stumble to the full-length mirror on my closet door. I can't believe what I'm seeing. I'm still glowing. How? Why? From head to toe. My skin shines like diamond dust, my eyes shimmering like living sapphire, and even my hair is streaked with gold and silver glitter. I didn't expect it to last past that night. It'll be real hard to live a normal life if I sparkle. Oh Jesus, I can already imagine the jokes at the bar. The power you possess is too much for a single body, Darius says, the worry clear in his tone. When your grandmother returned your magic, she also gave you what was left of her own. And then, when your mother died by her own flame, the magic in her blood flowed into yours. So what are you saying? I ask. I'm 3 witches in one? Darius nods. Essentially. The vampire comes up behind me and slips his arms around my waist. You have more magic than your body knows what to do with, which is why you can't control the glow of your skin. I cling to him and lean my head against his chest, feeling suddenly unstable, nearly blinded by my own reflection. My head is spinning and I twist away to vomit, but there's nothing in my stomach, so it's a painfully dry heave. You're being poisoned by the magic in you, the vampire whispers, laying a cool hand over my fevered forehead. I turn to face him, gripping his biceps. What does that mean? What do I do to stop it? I can bleed some off of you by drinking your blood, he says. That seemed to help, but it's only a temporary solution.
Rune approaches.
Darius is correct. That won't keep you alive long term. We need a more permanent solution, and soon. The council has reconvened, Zev says, approaching us. All of our kind have united in one purpose. My stomach tightens and my pulse races. What purpose is that? Rain, he says simply. They all want your child. They've decided they will share her to try and save everyone. Share her, I say, my brain coming to life slowly. You mean kill her? They each nod solemnly. And you're going to help them? I ask, pulling away my voice full of hurt. An accusation. As I do, a blast of light rips out of me and slams into Darius, pushing him across the room and into my wall, where he makes a man-sized cut. Out. What the hell? I run over to him. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. Darius steps out of my wall and dusts himself off. I will be fine. Your blood still flows in my veins and it's very powerful. It's you we need to worry about right now. I'm shaking as I look again at my hands, which seem to have a mind of their own. I pull away from all of them, retreating into a corner of the room like a scared animal. What if I hurt one of you? I ask, then my gaze lands on the bundle in Rune's arms. What if I hurt my child? You'd never, AJ says, sitting up and stretching. That's bullshit and you know it. But how can we be sure? I ask. Maybe my mother was right about one thing. This power is dangerous. Unnatural. I've never feared myself what I'm capable of, and it's not a good feeling. Darius clears his throat. I have an idea. Wait just a moment. With vampire speed he disappears from the room and reappears a moment later, holding something I'd entirely forgotten about. It's the star that brought these men to me, the rock I pulled from the wall. Just before Rain arrived, I inch forward to look at it, wondering if my magic is causing my eyes to play tricks on me. It's glowing the same color as my skin. Darius nods. It's been glowing since you got your powers back. Maybe it can help you control them until we think of something more permanent. He offers the rock to me and I reach out nervously to take it. I don't know what to expect, but the moment I wrap my hand around it I feel a shift inside myself, a settling. Light from my skin pours into the star until my body stops glowing and I return to normal. How do you feel? Rune asks, passing Rain to Zev to come kneel before me. He peers into my eyes, studies my palm, takes my pulse. A bit better, I say with relief. Not so dizzy or out of control. Try setting the star aside, Rune suggests. My eyes widen. What if I hurt you? I'll be alright and Zev won't let anything happen to Rain. But we need to see what we're dealing with. I nod and carefully set the star on the ground and then release my hand from. The moment I do, power rushes back into me like a tidal wave. My hands blaze with lightning and the dresser near me explodes in shards of wood. Quickly I grab the star and hold it to my chest, my breathing rapid, my body practically buzzing. Once again the star absorbs the excess power and I feel myself stabilize. Rune reaches for my hand to help me stand. With one hand clutching the star, I give my other to him and let him pull me. It would appear she needs to be in physical contact with the star to control her magic, yeah? AJ cuts Rune off, not needing the play-by-play. We were literally all here watching, Elfie. Before the two can get into one of their sibling spats, I interrupt. Okay, so I'm a magical bomb about to explode and all of your kingdoms are coming for my kid. What about you three? I ask, looking at each of them. The pledge you made is broken. I broke it. I glance at Darius, who holds my gaze with his. Will you go home? Take your rightful places and help them. We are not working with our kingdoms, Zev says.
Rune nods.
We have taken a new pledge. What kind of pledge? I ask. Darius takes my hand in his, speaking directly into my mind. We are yours, Bernie. Yours and Rain's. We will each lay down our lives for you if we must. Forever. I suck in a breath, unsure what to believe. But then he pulls up his sleeve and shows me a tattoo he didn't have before. A triangle with a star in the middle. Rune and Zev have the same marking on their arms. And then I notice my own arm, it has a matching symbol. We are bound to you, Rune says. And we will do whatever we must to protect you. So many emotions flood me. After nearly losing my child, watching my grandmother die, watching my mother die, worrying the men I've come to care for would betray me, and now being filled with so much magic I can't control. I don't know what to do or think, but I know what I feel. For the first time in a long time, I feel hope. Darius caresses my cheek. We will find a way to keep both you and Rain safe. You have my oath. I stare into the glowing full moon that casts its silver light over the water, breaking through the surrounding fog and giving a soft glow to the night sky. It's peaceful. A peace I don't think I've ever felt before. Shall we? Rune says, extending his hand to guide me. I turn and look at the handsome Fae his expression genuine and understanding. Zev and Darius stand behind him, both wearing tailored black suits as is.
Rune.
Dashing as ever but now in a more formal earthly way. Darius' mind brushes mine lightly, and I feel his emotions. Steady calm, mingled with great tenderness. This is a new thing between us that started after he fed on me. I can't say that I mind. Now it's as if we can touch each other even when we aren't together. It's a comfort I never imagined I would find so valuable. Darius stays with me as I extend my hand and give it to Rune. Under the light of the moon my skin is glowing and not in the way people said it glowed while I was pregnant, which I still think was bullshit since I was red and sweaty through most of it. No, my skin very literally glows these days, a soft amber hue flowing through my pores, even when I'm holding the star. Darius will need to feed on me again soon, or I'll never be able to leave the house. And just as intimately, I feel the wave of a wild primal connection when I look at Zev. We still haven't talked about what he meant when he called me his mate, though I have ideas. And the thought of it, while slightly terrifying, also heals something in my heart I didn't know was broken. I look forward to exploring these complex emotions with each of the men in my life once things get back to normal, or whatever normal now looks like for me. I finally take Rune's hand and we join the others, then move as a group to the cliff's edge. Below us waves crash against the rocky coast, spraying sea mist into the air and creating a steady rhythm with the intervals of the break. It's been a little over a week since I saved Rain from my mother, since I became overwhelmed with magical powers that cause my skin to glow and silver streaks to run through my hair, since I brought Darius back to life with my blood, since my nanny died. We've kept the bar closed in mourning just as we did after my grandfather passed, but patrons have taken to slipping envelopes of cash under our door with notes and cards. I've also found a casserole or dessert on the porch leading to my apartment nearly every day. My community has come together to take care of me in Morgan's pub while I process my nanny's death. Now we stand at the cliff my mother leapt from, back when she was still good, before dark magic warped her perception of right and wrong. Tear rolls down my cheek as I think of how much her heart must have hurt, how broken she must have been to decide that the best thing for her child would be for her to take her own life. But we're here for Tilly. As much as I hated losing my mother twice, saying goodbye to my nanny is just as hard. I plant a kiss on the top of Rain's head, her cute little body strapped tightly against mine in her carrier. She won't have any memories of her great-grandmother, but I'll see Nanny in everything my baby girl does, and Rain will have no question about where she inherited her greatness. We stand a few feet back from the precipice, wind whipping through our hair, a steady stream of light coming from the moon. Hard to call this a funeral, but I feel it's the right service to honor Tilly and everything she meant to me. Darius and Zev flank me and Rune stands just behind, his hands resting on my waist, supported on all sides. It's so strange to stand with these princes and have an aura of calm about us. The order members who posed a threat not that long ago are now just grateful the baby is alive, and that I'm protected. Betty came to see me after I regained consciousness and made clear the misguided intentions were my mother's alone. After my final moments with Tilly and the magical standoff with my mom, I know she's telling the truth. So now I have a moment to reflect and feel safe. And yet there's still an anxious knot in my stomach. I can't place the cause, but the feeling won't go away. I'm here. I got it. Our little ceremony has been waiting on one last guest, and we all turn to watch AJ bounding through the grass. I had to look through like 6 boxes before I found it, she says, handing me the final item we needed before this ceremony could get underway. That's fine, thank you so much for going back, I say. I can't believe I forgot it. Yeah, it's not like you've got anything else on your mind, AJ jokes. Vampire wound, killed your mom, skin freaking glows all the time. I stifle a laugh. The killed your mom thing is almost off color, but that's how AJ rolls. Also, when you break it down, I did kill my mother, and I'd do it again if I had to. I look down at the keepsake she brought, and my lip immediately starts to quiver and tears bubble up. Nanny's old Red Sox hat. Before she lost her mind, we'd watch baseball together all the time, going down to Boston to watch the Red Sox and even driving up to Portland for minor league games. Nanny was a fanatic, though she wouldn't shout or cheer at the games, she'd just watch, her eyes wide, a constant smile on her face. It was like a kind of magic she couldn't understand, these men batting around and chasing after this tiny orb. After the incident, which I now see in a very different light, baseball was the one thing that could pull her through an episode. I always thought it was the boring commentary from the announcers, but it was something deeper. It was a piece she found in the skill and strategy, and watching the little ball take flight. I don't have many other trinkets of Nanny's, and I don't really feel a connection to her possessions. I truly do feel her inside my heart, a piece of her soul living inside mine, flowing through the magic she returned to my veins. So I'm going to throw this hat off the cliff and into the waters below, saying goodbye to the hardships Tilly endured while in her physical form.